Let's get jiggy with it. But yeah, that's so true. I remember when Morgan came the first time from Australia, about 3 days into it, she came into the room and she said, something's coming in, right? And so the Mother Goddess energy jumped into her. It had never happened to her before. And it had happened a couple of times since. Her whole voice changed. But I remember the Mother Goddess telling me, and she was speaking to me, but it was really speaking to all of us. And she said, you knew what you were getting into, but you didn't. Like you didn't know how bad, not bad, but you know how, but I think that's very true because, but I look at this whole thing too, as being the ultimate living faith. As I picture, I personally, and this is my own thing, I think if God has a gender, God's a woman, period, a divine feminine. So she's up there, the one, and she says, what if I do this? But my point is creating that twin of hers, let's just put it that way. But it's one thing to create something in control, but it's pure love to create something and give them free will. Made in the image is made in the image. And that just plays in my head. And I think to myself, we are literally gods and goddesses in the flesh. And the only thing that's keeping us from actually being that is all the stuff that we've been through. But it's being peeled off now, just like it has been in our own lives. And I love what you said about these things, these atrocities. And I'm not one of those that says, "Oh, look at the light, look at the light." No. It's all there. It's all light. I love what David Icke said when he came on the show. He said, "I don't look at it as negative and positive. It's just information to for me to make decisions and navigate as I wish." But in our own lives, those things, especially in the last year and a half, that we have made peace with, the things that I regretted, the things that I did, the things that I didn't do, all those things that we don't want to talk about and tell anybody about. But those are the things that have brought us the gold. And so why would it be any different in our collective experience?
Right.
I mean, oneness is oneness. There's no in between.
Right. And this is all God's light that has been taken and misqualified into these gross mutations. It is coming back. As I said, I think of it like a battered child, so that you have this open heart loving, let me just love this energy back into the light. Let me transmute this greed or this corruption or this war or this outer world negativity or these inclement weather conditions. Let's just flood it with divine love and healing and the violet flame. I'm sure you're familiar with the violet flame. You may have heard about that. That's it's the predominant energy from the heart of God that'll be bathing the planet throughout the Aquarian age. And it's the unified frequency of the masculine polarity, our Father God's comprehensive divine love, and our Mother God's power and frequency, the unification of those energies, creating the violet flame. And it's the fastest energy to transmute discord and negativity back into light. So it's a gift that's been given to us at this time to accelerate this purification that's going on. And we've so moved into the patriarchal stuff from the past. It's fine for you to think of the Mother God solely, because we need to balance those energies out. There isn't this duality, there isn't this separation, but there is the out breath and the in breath.
Yeah.
The beings of light have said that the masculine is the out breath, of breathing out that creation and with the power of the spoken word. And that's why in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. And then the divine feminine is the in-breath of breathing the unformed light into the heart of that matrix that was formed by the out-breath of our Father, Mother God, drawing unformed primal light, the cohesive power of our Mother God's divine love that holds everything in the pattern of the matrix of whatever is forming. So The out breath and the in breath are our direct connection with source. And now that it has been elevated to these new frequencies, it is all these other things have happened with this shift at the equinox, and what's happening now have happened because of this elevation. I mean, have been able to happen at this frequency because everybody now is breathing higher frequencies of prana and our life force. And so now we can receive through this 555 Stargate this new higher frequency of crystalline solar light. And this is just another major quantum shift up the spiral of evolution. We're going to have many more by the time we complete this. But this year and this decade are going to be unfathomable from our conscious mind at this point.
Yeah. I can't even look a week in advance now. And because everything's changing here. I mean, people have made reference to time doing really weird things in the last year and a half. And even before that, but I mean, it's accelerated. You know, I feel like space has come into play. 2 nights after Morgan got into quarantine in Australia, we've had many etheric mergings over the years, but this was physical, and we weren't conscious, you know, of each other when it happened. So that's immediately when I experienced that, I went, wait a minute, now space isn't going to be here. Time's not going to be here. Space isn't going to be here. So we just got shown a little something of what's coming. Right. So this is why I really got excited when I should be, you know, I mean, I should be as a human going, well, oh my God, the love of my lives is on the other side of the world. And how do I ever know if I'm ever going to see her again? But I'm not. I'm looking at this collective thing because the information is coming. You know what? It feels like, and I don't know how other people feel, but it feels like more collective comprehension of the collective download, of the collective understanding. I remember having a download years ago, and they were showing me how things work on, I want to say, a normal planet. And that was basically like this, and it's metaphoric, that we have a beehive intelligence that on these other normal planets that is conscious. In other words, you go to bed at night, everything everybody learned, it's available. Kind of like you said that the new generations will have the availability of our experience, and they won't have to go do it. Kind of like, you know, I can do something in dimension, I don't have to do it in the physical, right? It's kind of like that. But I wonder, because to me, even though we don't get mainstream media press and all that stuff, this is a different language. It's a different type of experience. It's a different mathematics. And I got to believe that the work that you've been doing and so many people around the world has really gone a lot further than even someone like you might think. I mean, there are a lot of people woke up today, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. Every day, millions of people are awakening to this, what in the world is happening, and beginning to search, just like we all did when we began really searching. That's happening through the masses now at this point. And it's true, time and space only exists within the constraints of the 3rd and 4th dimension. In the 5th dimension, there's no such thing as time and space. And I'll mention to you, just as a word of encouragement, you know, when the laggard souls, eons ago, when the laggard souls came to Earth because we invited them to come, and they came through, transferred from the other planets into our solar system, and then were birthed through the natural process of birth into the physical plane. When they came into the physical plane, it was on the continent of Lemuria, which was in the Pacific, you know, huge continent in the Pacific Island. And at the time, the entire planet was literally at the Garden of Eden state. And after the fall, when they fell so deep, and our Father, Mother God decided that Lemuria needed to sink below the healing waters, purging that. And this was long before the sinking of Atlantis and all of that, but this was at the time. Lemuria broke apart, and much of it was pushed into the southern hemisphere. And Australia, the islands of the Pacific, New Zealand, are all part of that continent. So Australia has been for a while a very critical, important part of this, because we are going back to the initial impulse of the fall and healing from there forward. And so they're powerful beings of light in Australia, and either making trips there or being called back home. Yeah. What part of Australia is she in?
She's in South Australia, and this is interesting. This is interesting what you're telling me, because the other thing I noticed too is, over as the years gone on, the sequential aspect of my day or information has become like a book. You just turn the page into. So in the last 24 hours, now when I met her 5.5 years ago, on the day I met her, I said to her, "I know this place," and I described it. And eventually, as I researched it, I was right. And it was in South Australia, an hour out of Adelaide. What I had gotten was that this was my own journey, right? This was my own intel, that I would go and do what I'm doing now, and then go to Australia and do the same thing, and then eventually Antarctica. And I've asked people about this over the years. And right before I left town a few days ago, a friend of mine came by and gave me a book by Judith Kuzel, who's a friend of mine who comes on the show quite a bit. And it was her first book. And I opened up the book, and in the book, she talked about why she came through through Africa, and her own lineage and all that. But there was a chapter in the back, and it said, I didn't expect for Australia and Antarctica to show up. So I don't know, but what you said about the Lemuria thing, I can totally relate to. We went to Hawaii. We were called to Hawaii. We didn't have any money. We ended up going to Hawaii. We had all these Lemurian divine dimensional episodes, both conscious and in dream state, mostly conscious. There's something about what you said, and I've often felt this too, and I wonder what your thoughts are. It's almost like we're going backwards. You know what I mean? Like it's in reverse. You know what I mean?
We're going back to where the fall began and healing, reversing the adverse effects from the fall, because from that point is when these energies. This is why we had the very first World Congress in 1987 in Honolulu, in Hawaii, which were mountain peaks on the continent of Lemuria, because we're transmuting. And I've made a couple of trips to Australia and one to New Zealand, and Uluru is Ayers Rock, Uluru. The record keeper crystals were kept there, and held there to protect them until humanity could awaken and return. And we've begun that process now. So this is happening. New record keeper crystals are with the new Earth, and the new fifth dimensional crystal and reality are being placed in Mother Earth's crystal grid system to give us a new direction. It's like what's also happened within humanity and is expanding is that we have our I Am Presence has activated our 12 fifth dimensional crystalline solar strands of DNA, so we're getting a whole new archetype. And that's why the beings of light are saying that with the energy that is going to be coming in, what's happening since 555 and what's building in momentum is bringing, they're referring to a new spectrum of possibilities and new interdimensional connections and things. So this is all the kinds of things you're talking about that will be developing and experiencing things that seemed fantastical not very long ago, and it'll become very normal.
I love talking to you. I don't feel like I don't say a lot of the stuff that I get. I speak about some of it, but I don't. I'm listening to you, and it's like, again, this has all been coming to me. What you're talking about, and including the elementals. Now, we after like 2 years, we got a place in Arkansas, and that showed itself to us. It's a small town in Arkansas. In the back of the house is a forest, and I noticed the activity since March in the forest has been, I guess you could put it like this: if you were talking about in terms of vision, what I'm seeing is beyond the visible light spectrum. I'm seeing the fairy kingdom. I'm seeing the nature beings. I'm seeing the the animal beings, really they're almost like their higher selves, right? And there's a lot of activity which you can't really explain, right? And I also knew this when I got there. There's an interdimensional portal that goes into like inner Earth, right? And so they call me over there to work on it now and then, and that thing exploded in right after the equinox.
Wow.
They had me go over and create, like clean a space on the perimeter, and then I watched it all be released. And it was amazing. It reminded me a lot of the Sedona energy because it was very mixed. It wasn't just galactic and elemental, and it was all this stuff from on planet, on universe, off universe. I mean, it was a very powerful thing. And again, I know that just doesn't happen to me, and I know that was an experience that was explaining what's happening. But you've had to, 50 plus years, you must be just beside yourself with excitement.
I am. I not only 55 years, but I know that we have been doing this, all of us have been doing this for probably hundreds of lifetimes.
Yeah.
And the beings of light keep saying that. They said, you have no concept of how long you've been working to get to this point.
Yeah.
The evolutionary process, and it is here at last. And I know that we do our activities of light, and with many activities at the World Congresses and things, there is just a sense of elation pouring forth from the heavenly realms and through the I am presence of every person, that yes, we are moving forward in the light, and there is no turning back. And that wasn't always the case, that was guaranteed and that was assured. That's why we heard about the two Earths, and there was talk about maybe 144,000 people would make it, or maybe just 10% that accepted Jesus as their personal savior, or all kinds of prophecies indicating that a very small number. And there were times in our evolution over the last many millennia where that was the case, that if the shift of the age had taken place right then, we wouldn't have made it. Not because we're punished, but because moving into that higher frequency, we'd be like trying to move through a lightning bolt, and we would have been evaporated at the frequency we were vibrating at. Yeah. So this is why everything in these increments is accelerating our vibration. One of the interesting things, and I know you'll understand this, but a lot of people would think I'm crazy, which I'm sure they do you too. So that's
thank you.
I have a lot of company out there. The beings of light said, if we could see the Earth and humanity in comparison to 2012, when we made the shift of the ages in the initial impulse of the fifth dimension, they said the Earth now would be invisible to those people. It is vibrating at a frequency, and our earthly bodies and everything, that in that density that we were in then, looking at where we are now, they would not be able to see us with their physical sights. That's the kind of shift we've made. And people keep saying, well, when are we going to notice a difference? Well, it's happening. The maximum we can withstand through the guidance of our I am presence with every 24-hour period. And it's happening subtly, maybe sometimes not so subtly. People talk about the ascension symptoms when they're feeling all these pressures and shifts. But we are moving forward, and we've gone from the densest, darkest chaos of the third dimension, which was where we were prior to harmonic convergence in 1987, to now the initial impulses of the fifth dimension. And we are just now clearing the residue of the old Earth. It's not even like the old Earth exists anymore. And the terminology that the beings are using with the COVID pause, this forced time out where people had to stop, gave their I am presence an opportunity to integrate, to connect with them, to begin communicating and shifting consciousness and awareness, to open their hearts so they started realizing the oneness of all life. When people go through a horrific elemental experience, a purging like they do with inclement weather conditions, after a tornado and whatever, They don't go out to their neighbors and loved ones and say, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? Or they say, how can we help? How can we all come together? And that's what we need to do now. We need to stop this ridiculous, ludicrous us against them, because it is an illusion. It's not real. It's an illusion. And I'll just mention, I know there's so much out there about this, the sexual abuse and pedophiles and all of this kind of stuff. And I just want to put this out there as food for thought, because I'm not getting involved in all the chaos and all of the debate and all the battles. But there is a lot of information about the manipulation that's going on with the Russian bots and that kind of thing. And if we just ask ourselves, what could we say to people that would be the most atrocious thing that we could do to each other, the meanest, most awful thing that we could do to each other that would make us want to really get intervened and take action against those people?
Right.
Well, it would be pedophilia, it would be cannibalism, it would be drinking the blood of children, all of these ridiculous things that are being set up there. And I'm not even saying that might not be going on here and there, but the masses of humanity need to come together with this light force and blaze those people in those situations with so much light, not doing battle with them. If we see the negative behavior, we need to intervene and to stop it if we can, if you're counselors or neighbors or whatever, but not this global us against them, thinking that there's going to be a savior and that any political figures are going to be able to make the difference. It's going to come from us, from the masses.
No, I agree totally. And I've been hearing, for us, it's time to walk the talk, and this separation, dialogue and conversations, and it's and I know I'm front and center on it. I know I have a part in it, and I know that I'm triggered for reasons. Like, how can I do this? How can we make this work? Because what's not going to work, and I just find it. I used the word humorous or comical a while ago, but I look at the mainstream media headlines just to see what's trying to be presented, and I'm looking at them more and more every day, going, "This is a joke. This is a joke. It's so obvious." if you look at the articles over the last few weeks, they're predominantly assault against certain ethnicities, black versus white, cops versus there's all, and every bit of it, but it's the same thing every time. So
anything promoting fear-based or us against them is not of the light. Period.
That's right.
Not of the light. So we need to just get that and stop becoming triggered by that because of our compassion and because of our love and wanting it to stop. The way we stop it is by creating this unity consciousness and moving into love.
Right.
One of my favorite quotes from Buckminster Fuller is that he said, in order to create a new paradigm, you don't try to change the existing patterns and paradigms. You create an entirely new template and pattern and make the old one obsolete. And that's right. What to do. That's what creating the new earth of love, the oneness. We need to come together, creating this. How can we work together for the highest good of all concerned, both in religions, in politics, in countries, in nationalities, in everything, so that we can really say, but if we do that, we're going to receive, through the guidance of our inner knowing, such viable solutions for the maladies existing in the outer world, ways to heal at the environment, working with the elemental kingdom, shifting the consciousness of humanity, working with healing and transcending the capability of disease and maladies in our physical bodies. We're going to do it, but we're not going to do it by doing battle with everything. Where your attention is, there you are, and we empower those very things that we're doing battle with.
That's right. 444 people in the house on that note, so that must be There must be a reason for that. But,
Right.
and part of the, what am I going to try to say here? Part of the out or the end around that I've seen on some of these platforms is the star family or ET involvement in the narrative. Meaning that, and look, to me, that's the whole point. It's a narrative. It's part of the story. It's still part of this experience. It still doesn't take away from the sovereignty, the I am soul. It doesn't take away from what we started this whole conversation about. It's just distortion and distraction. But that thing that I was describing earlier, where that everything seems to be going our direction. Some people call it the golden child, the Trinity, the triad, the third energy, where two or more gather. I mean, we've talked about it a lot on this platform. We consider Soulology that. Soulology came to us and showed us I am now a consciousness. You guys, divine love has created it. Other aunts and uncles are going to come. And everything that we were told 3 years ago is happening. But it's just a small microcosm, as I see it, of everything happening. Do you see this non-physical connectivity that we all have together, whatever that is in literal terms? Do you see it becoming more and more of a presence? It almost feels like another person to me.
Right. It's just a shift of consciousness is what it is, because we've never been separate. We just thought we were separate. We are just moving into that frequency. So yes, that oneness, and we still are going to have our individualized expression as a son or daughter of God, but it'll be in perfect harmony with the collective. We're all cells in that all-encompassing body of God, and working with our sisters and brothers, with the extraterrestrials and things like that. There was a time, I've been around a long time, and there was a time where there would be interference with extraterrestrials, and they talk about the grays and the experiments that were going on and those kind of things. And the reality is what the beings of light said, that they weren't even really malevolent souls. They were like the same level of consciousness that we are. If our scientists had gone to another planet, they would have done those tests and those experiments just like these other souls were doing.
Yes.
They are no longer allowed to do that. Since we have moved into these shifts, they've been removed from the planet and moved higher. But the other beings of light that are helping us, the other extraterrestrials, what we need to remember, these are the ones from the other planetary systems in our solar system, where we took on the laggard souls from their planets that were going to prevent them from moving forward in the light. And they got to move forward in the light. And their sisters and brothers, we took on as an incredible sacrifice to this planet. They know that. They are helping us. They want to help transmute. They want to help shift the consciousness of their loved ones that didn't make it last time, so that they will make it this time. So they are absolutely helping us the maximum that they can, but they can't do it for us. They only can assist. So from, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Syrians, lots of wonderful, powerful beings of light that are guiding and directing us from the higher realms, but they are only assisting us. They can't do it without us asking for their assistance.
That's right. I love talking to you. And I never made that connection before, because everybody has, certain galactic, connections that they identify with, but I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, like, well, I'm from here, or if I'm from there, I'm from everywhere. Is the way I look at it. But I can see now the mutual, there's always an equal energy exchange, right? So I can see now that would make a lot of sense to me, that their involvement, they have a stake in it. And it's not just us, it's actually what you said. That part of the story really, really resonates with me.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that what was one person's burden is a blessing, and another person's blessing is a burden, right? Like, this is an opportunity here where these what do you call them? These haggard souls that couldn't do it are given another chance.
Yeah, laggard.
Laggard soul. Yeah.
But it's just fallen sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
We are. And the beings of light, that's true that there are, when we talked in the beginning about the billions of souls volunteering to embody to help, many souls are here embodied from different star systems and things.
Yeah.
So lots of people are remembering that.
Yeah.
And as well as the souls that came here and initiated the fall. And what happened is that the sons and daughters of Earth volunteered to have these souls come through their bodies through the natural process of birth. But when they were old enough to start having some of their heavy duty karmic liabilities returned to them, which we're all responsible for,
Right.
Earth evolutions didn't know how to deal with that, and never experienced anything like those energies.
Well, we're veterans now.
Now we are.
I remember getting a download a few years back, and it was something like, so when you guys get done with this, I think they called it a summary life, or a friend of mine had told me at the time the term summary life. So when you're done with this incarnation and this all happens, you'll literally be universal healers because of the makeup of this, let's say the seeding. You could say it with the genetics, but so many different essences have been involved in the seeding of the earth. I mean, we're a composition of all of them, and I think in the same the same download I was getting, how when we bring equilibrium, let's say it's in some aspect of our incarnation, and we forgive a perpetrator or something, we're actually bridging things such as, let's say, Anunnaki, Pleiadian, and other rifts that have occurred, which is our history. This is our past, right? This is our lineage. So,
right. And some, all of those interference, the changing in DNA, and all of those kind of things, those things happened after the fall, because we fell so far and in such dense frequencies of vibration that other systems like the Anunnaki were actually using the earth as a schoolroom of learning for the forces of imbalance. They came to really, so we really had so much to overcome. Actually, the caveman, Neanderthal, troglodyte consciousness is what we fell to, what we ascended from. And when they talk about, even in biblical structures, about the angels and beings of light coming and mixing with earth evolutions, there was some of that from other systems, from these planets whose sons and daughters of God were in the fall and part of the laggard souls, trying to shift the DNA back from the Neanderthal consciousness. So all kinds of...
Yeah, I think that's another good point you bring up too. And I know we got to get out of here. I didn't even ask permission to go an hour and a half. We're already at hour 36. I apologize.
Okay.
I just got so wrapped up in talking to you. But you made a really good point too, and I just want to make sure that we touch on it. You were saying how any of us that are playing, like, we'll just talk present time, anyone who's playing a less than savory role or a negative role or a perpetrator role, or that's leading a group that's, in the 1% or whatever, you made that, and I just want to make sure that I understood it, because I think I align with this. They actually think they're doing the right thing.
Oh, right.
Right. I mean, they're not going, oh, let me see who I can go kill, or,
And they may even do it because that's what they volunteered to do.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's because they're beings of light. Sometimes it's because they're really negative souls that have done horrible things. And they said, as part of their learning and their karmic experience, they're going to push it to the surface so that we can see how awful humanity felt too, so, but the beings of light have cautioned us consistently, don't ever try to judge who is and who isn't
exactly
a fallen soul, because we never know, and it's none of our business anyway.
Right.
All that matters is us and how we are individually behaving and acting out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I it's talking to you is like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's been a pleasure and an honor, and I agree with you.
Well,
you can't miss a step. Nobody gets out alive, but no one gets left behind.
That's right. Love Richard Bach's story of, in illusions. And he said there's a test to determine whether or not your work on Earth is finished or not. And he said the test is if you're alive, it isn't.
Oh my. And you got to laugh too, right? I mean, there's got to be
key factor in my work. Humor is a key factor. Yes.
It has to be. Yeah. There's so much wisdom in humor. Well, I hope we get to collaborate again sometime. And
we will, Todd. It's been my pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, and I love connecting with all your wonderful audience out there. Have a wonderful, wonderful experience in Sedona. Sedona is a very powerful place, and it connects directly through the crystal grid with Australia and other energies of Lemuria and Atlantis and all those energies. So it's a powerful place to be.
Yeah, it is. I've been there 6 times, and Anubis is my escort. So
good.
yeah, we've had some pretty amazing times. It's a very special time and event. And I hope I get to get down to Tucson. If I get down that way, I'll give you a holler. And thank you so much. I don't know what else to say, but
there's nothing to say. Thank you. We don't need words, do we? Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Yeah, you take care. Take care. We'll see everybody. We'll see you in 20 minutes with Sandra and Alan from Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio. Take care. Peace out, everybody. Bye-bye.